Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. My name is Cindy. Thank you so much for being here. You're going to be seeing this video on November 4th, so Friday before voting day. Lots and lots of early voting has happened, and so that's kind of good news. That is very good news. So we're going to take a look just overall at the energies as we move through next week because um, in a lot of cases, we're not actually going to know the results until the Wednesday or the Thursday, perhaps even the Friday. So it's really important because there are so many states that don't count early votes until the end of voting day. And so, if you have 500,000 votes, whatever it is, that you have to now get counting after the same day votes are counted, that's a lot, and that's going to take some time. So, part of it is just taking a look and see what the kind of energy is like going to be next week, because I suspect that it's going to be a little bit chaotic, but there is also, of course, that very powerful lunar eclipse on the 8th. And that brings about not only feminine power, but it brings about kind of a tearing down, kind of, if you will, of the energy of old and structures and institutions. And that's where the Republicans live, okay, in that energy of old. And certainly this week, it has become even more difficult, I think, to sort of stay in a neutral or even positive mindset, because there is so much chatter going on about how, the Dems are losing voters here and they're losing voters there, and this isn't happening and what's going on. And so it's just really important that everybody do what they can to stay super, positive and clear headed. I have recorded what is, I think, going to be the final video for the 2022 election. Um, it is being released. It's the final Shine Your Light video. It is being released on the morning of November 8th. So I encourage you to take a look at that, participate in that, and during the course of that day, of course, keep your energy vibrations as high and as clear and as calm as you can. Hang on a second. Thank you. I stopped because I needed to go grab my phone because I wanted to share with you um, this website or this YouTube channel. Her name is Heather Ensworth, Ensworth, Ensworth. She I'm just gonna show you. She looks like a very nice lady, right? But she did a video. Obviously, she's done lots of videos, but she released a video, I don't know, a week or so ago, maybe two, called Total Lunar Eclipse November 8th. But she does something that I've never seen anybody else do before. And that was she told the story of Greek mythology and how it fits into the dynamics and the energies that we're actually going to be experiencing. And she shows kind of like star charts, and she says, this is, whoever, and this, and look at this, you can see the sun and the moon, and they're completely one on top of another. It was really, really, really interesting. So if you have a chance and you're just looking for sort of a bit more of an overview or a sense of clarity about what's going to be happening as a result of this lunar eclipse on the US day of voting, and what that sort of sets up for kind of the next 6 months or year, because lunar eclipses take a while for them to fully manifest. It's fascinating. Heather Ensworth. Just type that in YouTube and she'll pop up. So I just wanted to share that because I came across her last night and I was like, oh my God, this is really, really interesting. And it gives you a perspective of kind of a really good like overview of the kind of energies that we're going to be dealing with. I just found it fascinating. So if you have 20 minutes or 30 minutes to take a look, do so. I really I encourage that because it gives you a sense of, I don't know, just sort of clarity, a recognition of, okay, I recognize this and I can relate to it and I can understand some of the things she's saying and working with it. It was really interesting. Anyways, so I want to take a look at kind of the energies, as I said, of next week. So a lot's been going on, and a lot of it hasn't been good for a lot of people, right? So that Cash Patel guy got immunity in order for his grand jury testimony into, I think it's a January 6th investigation. Um, so that is like crazy bad news for you know who, because he was the former guy's kind of lead guy when it came to the whole Mar-a-Lago and the documents, and they were declassified. And I don't know, it's such a red herring, anyways, because it doesn't matter if they were classified or declassified. The fact is, he's not supposed to have them. But be that as it may, um, but so he's going to be spilling Trump's secrets, and I because one immunity, you can't claim the fifth. You just have to like tell the truth and tell the story. So that can't be good news for Trump. Um, Lindsey Graham, the Supreme Court turned him down and said, "No, buddy, you need to go march your ass into Georgia and talk to the investigation pertaining to um, pertaining to the um, find me 11,780 votes conversation." So there's lots and lots going on, and none of it honestly is very good. This one was actually, it made me laugh. So this case that's going on in New York was Letitia James about the Trump Corporation, right? Um, so so when there is a trial and there's all these jurors brought in, potential jurors, and then they're asked all these questions, and then the defense and the prosecution are able to just like eliminate some and say, no, no, I just don't want you. They don't even have to give a reason. Um, and they're allowed sort of so many of those. There were so many people who, when they were questioned, simply said, I hate Donald Trump and I cannot be objective. that the defense actually ran out of the number of those sort of get out of free jail cards. And from what I understand, they have, I think it's like three jurors who really aren't very impressed with Donald Trump. So that's kind of going on. So that's interesting. I, it, anybody I've ever talked to who lives in New York has always said the same thing. Like, New Yorkers hate this guy, and they're so aware of what he is and how he is, but somehow that information sort of never managed to make it out into the broader world. Okay, I do want to just touch base on one thing. So I have been watching the numbers of early votes, and um, particular the numbers, and I've been looking at the numbers of the 18 to sort of 40-year-olds in that category, and in some cases, particularly the 18 to whatever their threshold is, 30 or something, their numbers are down. And my guides has been very, very clear about the fact that it is going to be the younger generation that really creates the shift in how this election goes and the success of this election for the Democrats. And so I've been sort of watching that number. And that number, while in some places is not bad, in some places it's really dismal. And I've been sort of reaching out and saying, what's going on here? Like, if these young folks are supposed to be making this huge change, don't you think they ought to like get at it? And I've received, I guess, two answers that are comforting. One is that where mail-in voting has been allowed, that was their primary means of voting, in part because you have to realize that um, this is sort of like exam season, right? I think it's like the midterms of their first semester, something like that. So a lot of them have relied on mail-in voting, and it also feels like there are going to be, um, a pretty good turnout in on election day. This is a thing to remember, though. You don't need 50% of them voting. You just need a few more percentage points than did the last time. And, you know, we've determined that energetically this election is going to be close. It is not going to be that blue tsunami that we experienced with, not only the last election, but the last midterm election where all of those Republicans got bounced out of the House. Um, And so it's not about huge numbers. It's about increasing numbers in certain strategic places. So that was the message I got. That was the answer I got. And so I'm just going to pass that on to you. So let's take a peek and see um, what the energy is. And I know my last video sort of looked at exactly that, but I want to look specifically at election day and the days that follow it, and see if we can get a handle on it. And again, I really am encouraging people to just really focus on the fact that this election is bringing about a significant and powerful change, and a very significant and powerful change in terms of women and their rights and their votes. Um, so here we go. Energy USA, November 8-10. USA election November 8-10. USA election November 8-10. Let's see what we get. I did notice that um, sorry, I went blank. I did notice that in Arizona, a judge did enforce an injunction stopping the, honestly, like vigilante people hanging out at polling stations with their, firearms and their army fatigues. What the hell? So they've been pushed back something like 75 feet, and they can't talk to anybody unless that person talks to them first. So hopefully that will reduce some of the kind of crazy tension around those polling spots. Just nutty. Okay. So we have the fifth, sorry, the five and the seven of swords popping up. Now, on the other hand, we also have the three and the four of wands. Okay, so let's start with these ones. So these two cards are talking about that sort of aggressive and kind of bullying behavior. And there's going to be a lot of talk about, the election being stolen, about not accepting the results of the election. There's going to be a lot of, I'm not going to concede. I don't care if they beat me by 10 points. There's just going to be a lot. And it's important that we not kind of give in to panic, okay? Because the ones are saying just hold on, just hang tough, because ultimately there is going to be a celebration for the community. And, the larger community of the United States are not MAGA people, okay? They are very much in the minority. They're just loud. And they're up to their stunts. And this is the thing I just saw, that apparently a lot of the lawyers that were very busy in the last election, taking cases to court and filing all this nonsense, have they moved into position again, and so they're ready to start again for the midterms. I think, though, that they're going to receive a rather rude awakening when they start filing this stuff um, in the courts. I think the courts have about had it with them. Also, yesterday, there was a ruling in a case. This was a while back. Donald Trump sued like Hillary Clinton and a whole bunch of people, like basically claiming that, I don't know, they maligned him or they tried to steal the election from him in 2018. Like, I don't know what the thing was, but it was like this big deal. He was going to get back at everybody. It was like a just a vengeance kind of lawsuit. Um, well, apparently the judge said that is enough of that, and not only has the lawyer, which I think is that Haba, is she being sanctioned, but it's very possible that um, Trump can be sanctioned. And what's going on is they are going to be having to pay all of the other people's legal bills that they incurred, sort of having to deal with this nonsense lawsuit. Apparently those legal bills are going to add up to like $1 million. Now, Trump's just going to probably steal it from one of his, or borrow it from one of his, PACs or his whatever, his grift money. um, but that's going to hit her pretty hard. So I think that this nonsense about we're going to file this and we're going to file that, I think that it's gotten to the point where honestly, the courts are not going to be particularly kind to this kind of nonsense going forward. So I don't actually see that as being particularly effective. Okay, this is really honestly, this is about waiting it out, um, keeping keeping things in perspective. This is a big, important election, and energetically, we need to stay as strong as we possibly can. And on that note, on this past Wednesday, so 2 days ago, I released the Shine Your Light video number 4. If you have not had a chance to look at that or engage in that guided meditation, I encourage you to do so. Not only are we sending out really great energy around the election, but it's also a sort of a good video in terms of just our own selves kind of calming down and staying centered and balanced. Okay, so I do encourage you to take a look at that if you haven't before. Okay, so what we've got is those 3 days. It really does feel like it's going to be nail biting time. Okay, it just is. And listen, counting takes time, and they're going to be counting. Okay, it really feels like we're not going to have, I think, by evening of the 8th, I think we're going to have a really good indication. But I think overall, we're not going to be able to see that full picture for probably another 24 to 48 hours. So this is interesting. These are the next 3 cards that came up. I love this. I absolutely love this for the US. Okay, so what this is, everybody knows that the King of Pentacles is my greedy king, the former guy card. You've got the devil and you've got the sun. So I really like this because what this is talking about is that his sort of evil ways, there's going to be a lot of light shone on them, and it feels like they are not. It's exposure. This is about exposure coming about some of the goings on, and you know what? Between now and Tuesday morning, I'm telling you, there's going to be more bombshells coming out. There's going to be more stuff that happens where it's like this isn't going right for this person, and this just got exposed, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so there's still going to be, it's very, very sort of chaotic and staticky energy that is in that period between the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. This week that we're in, is there's just a lot of that kind of energy around. It is taxing for those of you out there who are feeling a little exhausted and kind of tired. Trust it, it just really feels like it is a result of that kind of energy that's going around. um Backroom deals are going to be exposed. This is not good for them. They're going to come charging in. They're going to think that they're going to be able to, just win this over, and they're going to bully themselves front and center. It's not going to work. But it is important that we don't kind of surrender and give up. This election is just too important. Um, it feels very much like there's going to be, I don't know, perhaps a couple of surprises, almost races maybe that should have been won and might not be, but more, I think there's going to be races that the Republicans um, didn't expect to lose, and they lose. And this is the other thing. Got to remember this. The Democrats are being um, well represented in Republican areas. Okay. So there are some places where um, it's a Republican stronghold, and yet the Democrats have really managed to wedge themselves in there. And so that's important. I have my pendulum here, and I don't have my notes in front of me, so I'm just going to kind of pick some of the big name races that I can think of, and I want to start with what is it? The governor of New York, that Hauka, and I can't even remember the name of the guy that she's running against. But I want to take a look at her. So, pendulum. Okay, so it's ready to talk. Here we go. Pendulum is the win of the governor's race going to go to the incumbent Governor Hoka? Okay, yes. All right. Um, the poll, they're just telling me that the polls are off because they're relying on old polling methods. And because of that, they're not connecting to the people who are going to be impactful in this election. That's just what I got told. Okay. Warnock and Walker is is Herschel Walker going to win that Senate seat? Is Herschel Walker going to win that Senate seat in Georgia? No. Okay. Um, Bell Demings and Marco Rubio. Is Bell Demings going to take that Senate seat away from Marco Rubio? Is she going to win that Senate seat? That's a yes. I know right now the polls are saying that she's trailing, but as I said, I'm not sure that we should be paying a lot of attention to the polls. Okay. Tim Ryan and JD Vance. I think that's Ohio. Um, okay, so is Tim Ryan is Tim Ryan going to come out the victor in that election? Yes. Okay. Abbott and O'Rourke. Is O'Rourke going to be able to unseat Governor Abbott? Is O'Rourke going to take that race and win it from Abbott? That's looking like a pretty strong yes. And again, I think that one looks as if Abbott's in the lead. Sorry, I really am doing this off the top of my head, and it's Friday. My head's a little fuzzy. Um, who else do I want to take a look? Let's just ask sort of the big important questions here. Um, are the Democrats going to retain majority control of the Senate? Yes. Are they going to increase their number of seats by at least two? Yes. Okay. Is Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats going to retain the majority in the House of Representatives as a result of this midterm election? Yes. Overall, is this election going to be seen as a positive win for the Democrats overall? Yes. This is what you guys have to remember. Midterms are when the party in power gets slaughtered, and they're not getting slaughtered. They're just not. And you need to remember that and keep that in perspective because they're supposed to be. That's what everybody says. That's what happens every year. But I don't believe it's going to happen this year. Um, as a result of this election and future elections, but particularly this election in the next 2 years, is the Biden administration going to be able to um, put through legislation codifying Roe v. Wade? Yes. Okay. Is the Biden administration going to be able to strengthen and reinforce voter rights legislation? Yes. Okay. Um, is the economy going to stabilize at least somewhat between kind of now and the beginning of the new year? It's going to, yeah, it's kind of a yes, no, maybe kind of I'm not moving. So the markets are still, fairly, and I think after the election they may settle down, but as of right now. Oh, that reminds me, that Stephen Judd, that astrologer guy, he had a really interesting one that he put out also about the November 8th lunar eclipse. And it was really interesting because he was talking about how almost as soon as the 8th is over, there's going to be a calming down of the energies, and things are just going to simply start moving forward in a much more positive direction. That was interesting. You might also want to check out his video. Um, is Nancy Pelosi going to be looking at retiring prior to the next election? Yeah. Definitely a political powerhouse, but she has more than served her time. And this attack on her husband is horrendous. And you have idiots out there trying to come up with all of these conspiracy theories, um, not the least of which is coming from that babbling baboon Trump. So there's that. Um, are there going to be a fair number of challenges or legal challenges filed as a result of the winning losing results of the midterms? Are there going to be a lot of them filed? Yeah. Okay. Are the people filing the claims, are they likely to experience significant win over their allegations of voter fraud? No. No, no, no. Okay. So, listen, democracy is not going to be saved by this one election. This is going to be a work in progress because what's going to happen is after this election, a lot of the MAGA people are going to sort of start backing off a little bit, I think, because um, some Republicans are going to start to recognize that it isn't a winning strategy, but not all of them. And the MAGA people are going to continue to push forward. Okay. So this isn't a one and done deal. It's going to, you're looking at a few more elections. And the idea is that the Democrats really, really need to be supported all the way through, particularly supported, in terms of getting stuff done to put those safeguards in place. And I think that's what we're looking at. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. It looks as if early next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's going to be continuing news coming out. There's going to be lawsuits filed. They're not going to go anywhere. They're going to become like a laughing stock of the courts. And frankly, maybe that's what we need to do. Just and maybe it's time that it became even the consequences or the sanctions or the behaviors for filing those frivolous lawsuits um, sort of kick in, and people learn that they just really need to stop doing that. Okay, so listen, get some rest this weekend. Take it easy. Um, Honestly, don't spend a lot of time watching television. I think that it's going to, certainly not political television. I think it's just going to get a lot of people wound up and agitated, and we don't need that. So, enjoy um, the weekend of the first week of November and just take it easy, stay positive, check out the Shine Your Light guided meditations, and really hold the intention and the thought that honestly, there are things that have been broken for a long time, and it's fine. It's time that they sort of um, were deconstructed. And that includes the old fashioned thinking and the greed and just the energy connected to the Republican Party. And listen, they're not alone. That same greed and thirst for hunger, you see it in Russia, you see it in China, you see it, right? Okay. Um, and when it comes to Tuesday, after you've done a couple shine your light meditations, get out your popcorn, settle back, and just breathe. Breathe through the day. Um, I don't believe I'm going to put out a video on Tuesday unless something really inspires me to do so that morning. If not, you will see me later on in the week. All right. Have a happy weekend. Take care. Be well. And I will see you really soon. Bye bye for now.